is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Ready to go. How you doing, my brother? You had your story written pretty much early in the third quarter, right?
No, actually, I didn't. No, actually, no, I didn't. Although, yeah, nobody would have faulted me for having done that, though.
Yes, that's why I'm saying it's one of those where you kind of knew where it was going in the second half. Unfortunately, what a shame too, because the defense played its ass off in the first half. I got to say, I got to give them a lot of props. They really shut them down. But then in the second half, Buffalo adjusted and Miami could not.
Yeah, and in the first half, and I'm watching that first half. I'm like, where the hell has this been all year?
Right.
Where they're lining up a whole bunch of guys at the line of scrimmage, and Dolphins didn't finish with a sack in this game, and yet I think we'd all agree that they got a lot of pressure on Josh Allen. They had him rattled, shaken up. I mean, he was frustrated. I mean, he was like bitching it up on the sideline. I mean, they played a great first half, and then the offense just kept bumbling it up, and then topped off by that ridiculous. In fact, I made an analogy to football follies. The fumble late in the first half. That's what that play was. That's football follies right there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, listen. Well, whether it's the fumble, whether it's Gesicki, I mean, there were follies all over the place going on with this team. And what did you notice in the second half that the defense wasn't doing that they were able to do in the first half?
I don't know that they looked like they did a whole lot anything different. I think, but like you mentioned, I think Buffalo adjusted. Early on, there was the one play where they're playing man and Josh Allen got outside and had nothing but green field, and all of a sudden it's a 34-yard gain. And then he started targeting Cole Beasley a whole lot, and the Dolphins just flat out couldn't cover him at all, whether it was Nick Needham, and then eventually they yanked him, put Justin Coleman in, and guess what? Nick Needham's better than Justin Coleman. So if Nick Needham is not covering him on this day, Justin Coleman ain't.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that dude killed him in that second half. That's the guy who completely killed him.
What'd you think of X today?
I didn't have an issue with it. I thought he was played way too far off the line on the touchdown to Diggs when Diggs made the move inside. Basically, had no shot. Then he had the one holding penalty, but I didn't have a major issue with this game. I don't think he was poor. I don't think anybody in the secondary was really poor. It's not like Allen was really lighting him up. It was Cole Beasley, the one who was killing him.
Yeah, underneath, Cole did a lot of work underneath, but X had an opportunity. I don't know why either Diggs was. He is one of the better route runners in the NFL.
No question.
But he clearly got easily distanced from X and plenty of space. I was wondering what the hell was going on with that coverage.
Well, he was playing really off at the line of scrimmage, and I don't know if that's what the coverage called for or what they had called, but I mean, he was way off the line of scrimmage, and Diggs isn't necessarily somebody who's going to beat X over the top, and it was only at the 19-yard line anyway, so I'm not quite sure I understand why he was so far off into the line of scrimmage. That was kind of strange.
Your thoughts on the offense, because it was rough to watch at times because that offensive line cannot give the quarterback any time whatsoever. So talk to me a little bit about that, because I was trying to explain to some people, and look, I get it. You're one of them. You're not a Tua believer per se, but you look at it, that kid never gets an opportunity to step into a pocket and throw the ball ever.
No, I'm not with you on that one. Today it was a lot more not than yes. But I'm gonna circle back to the last 2 weeks where he had plenty of plays where he could step into the throw, and he just finished his press conference where he's basically saying that I'm taking the guys who are open. So basically, he's saying that either nobody's getting open deep, or he doesn't see anybody getting open deep, or he's afraid to throw it if they're in coverage. Well, guess what? His second longest completion of the game was a play where Devontae Parker was not really that open. And he just put it up, and Parker out jumped Levi Wallace, and boom, 23-yard gain. So it's a combination of everything. The offensive line doesn't give him enough time. The wide receivers are not getting open that deep. He's too reluctant.
Oh, he doesn't have enough time for deep plays.
That's not true. Oh, not every single solitary time. I refuse to go there. That every single solitary time.
Well, yeah, but dude, you're not calling a deep shot on every play. You know what I mean?
But it's
you can't anticipate the 3 or 4 downs out of 70 that he's not going to get pressure. You know what I'm saying?
But his default mode is always to go short. And again, the offensive line was poor last year also. And when the other guy was in there, the guy with the beard, he wouldn't be afraid to chuck it down the field, even if this guy wasn't open by 3 yards. And
yes.
that's my reservation with Tua, that again, he can be very, very, very efficient if everything's a quick slant, a quick out, everything short, intermediate at most. But that requires everything around you to work perfectly well. And obviously that didn't happen. And it's not on him. The Dolphins didn't lose because of him, but he doesn't alleviate the pressure for anybody on offense.
Yeah, but on the Fitz thing, let's not compare that. That's not a fair comparison. The guy has 17 years of playing under chaos. He's used to that. Rookie quarterbacks, they're not built to step into this situation and overtake it and even do what Fitz did. Fitz played his entire life on bad teams as a backup, as a fill-in. He's played on all the bad situations. So when he got here, although he had Changeli here, which is way better than what they have this year, but still, he's going to be able to handle those kind of situations better than any young quarterback.
That's fair, but my point is, let's not suggest that it's absolutely impossible for a quarterback to throw downfield with a garbage offensive line, which is what it is right now, when last year it was slightly better. It certainly wasn't great, and it got done. And and one point I want to make about the offensive line, which is sad, is that everybody's been dumping on Austin Jackson this entire year. Well, guess what? I didn't notice anything horrible with him today. Today was Liam Eichenberg and Robert Hunt, who to me, like, look, what were they doing? And Jesse Davis also didn't have a good game, and that's unfortunately becoming a pattern for him. He's gone from being a very dependable offensive lineman to one who's really not having a good season. But then again,
you can hide him. You can hide him at guard. You can't hide him at tackle.
There.
And then when your guard next to you is not a stud, then that makes it even harder for him to play that position too. So it's a mess, dude. There's
no
the one guy can't really count on the next guy, can't count on the next guy, and there's no experience to lean on for this offensive line.
I mean, and how bad? Here's the thing too. How bad must Greg Little be at practice? That they will not dress him. I mean, not once has he been active.
Yeah.
I mean, is he that bad at practice? Are you that loyal to your draft picks like Eichenberg and Austin Jackson that you don't want to yank him? I mean, give this guy a shot. What's going to happen? He's going to be bad and the offensive line's not going to produce?
Well, give him a shot at right tackle.
Anywhere. He can play center for all I care. Give him a shot.
No, you could give him a shot at right tackle and then move Jesse into right guard over Hunt. Maybe Jesse is better playing in a phone booth than he is in space.
Well, the other issue, though, I'm not sure what kind of experience he has at right tackle. Maybe just stick him at left tackle and move Eichenberg to right tackle. He's not really killing it at left tackle. So, again, what's that's going to happen?
Where do we go from here with this team? What do they do?
Well, priority number one is to evaluate. Okay, what moves, if any, do they make before Tuesday? Once that's out of the way, I mean, you're 1-7. You're not making the playoffs. If there's no Deshaun Watson trade by Tuesday, and that's obviously clearly a possibility, then I think, to me, the rest of this season is all about Tua's development. I don't see what, and then identifying the pieces that you want to have with you moving forward next year.
So wait a minute, you're developing Tua to trade him?
I'm saying if nothing happens before Tuesday, then I don't think then there's certainly no guarantee that the Dolphins get Watson in the offseason of 2022. And even regardless, you want to develop him, even if you're going to trade him because you want to maximize his value. You want that guy balling by the end of the season to have a decision, to have a nice decision to make of like, do we want to trade him? Why would we want to trade him? Look what he's going to be doing. So, but it's the most important position, and that's a position that needs to be focused on. And then again, like I said, identifying other players that you want to move forward with.
But that sounds so fantasy land. One, we're going to develop Tua to think that maybe he might be the future when you really don't want him. And if I'm him, I wouldn't want to be here anyways. If I'm Lee Steinberg, the day after the season ends, I'm calling like, yo, I want my guy out of there. Whether you get Watson or not, I don't care. I want my guy out of there.
Dolphins have him under control for the next 3 years. He can want to leave all he wants. If the Dolphins say you're not going anywhere, he's not going anywhere.
No, but, I totally understand that. But
what else is there? They go, they're 1-7. What else is there? You ask me what else is there for the rest of the season?
No, I know that's why I'm saying that I think this is a really impossible situation right now, because you've already pretty much told your quarterback you don't want him. You know what I mean? It's pretty obvious that he's not wanted here by the coaching staff and front office and owner. So you just wonder, what are you working towards now at this point? And what is going to convince anybody at this point by the end of the season that this team is headed in the right direction?
They end the season on a 6-game winning streak. How's that? You did mention Fantasyland, right?
Yeah, no, that's fantasy. That's as fantasy as it gets. 6 wins straight, baby. That would be a beautiful fantasy. Not a reality, but it would be a beautiful fantasy.
It's a really bad place to be in when you're in year 3 of a rebuild with expectations that you're ready to take another step forward, and it goes splat on you. It's a really bad place to be because, like you said, where do you go from here?
Where do you lay the blame?
Yes, I lay the blame.
Where?
Like I said, yes. I'm trying to be funny here, and you're not playing along. Everywhere. Personnel decision, player development, in-game coaching, players not performing the way they're supposed to be performing. I don't think, as big of a mess as this is, I don't think there is any particular area. The only area where I haven't seen a major issue is effort. But in terms of fundamentals, and again, I mentioned player development. I mean, who's gotten better from last year to this year? Practically nobody. I mean, two was one. Yeah, and he might be the only one on the team who has actually taken a step forward from last year. I mean, there's so few and far between. It's top to bottom.
There's nobody, bro. No, you're right.
Everything's a mess.
There's nobody. Nobody has improved from last year at all. Is there a side of the coaching that you would even keep? Offensive, defensive, or special teams? Because right now I'm not impressed with any phase whatsoever. Okay.
No, there is not one phase that's. If they make a change at head coach, there's not one assistant coach right now whose performance screams, I need to be kept on the staff. There isn't one. I mean, there have been failures at every level, underachieving at every level. It's a complete mess. This is as bad as it's been for this franchise in a long time, particularly when you factor in the expectations they had coming in.
And your thoughts on the Watson trade? What are the chances it happens by Tuesday?
To me, it's around 50-50. If I were to put here's my thing is right now they're playing a poker game. I mean, the Texans are going to tell everybody we're not trading. We're perfectly happy with hanging on to him when damn well that owner wants him out of the building so bad he can taste it. So they're going to put out the posturing of we're happy to keep him to make sure they get as much value for him as they want. And then the Dolphins from their end are going to hold out as long as possible to get him for as little of a return as they can. And at some point, either side budges. They both budge a little bit, or they both say forget it and move on to 2022. In which case, it's a win-win, lose-lose for everybody because If the situation gets cleared up by 2022, all of a sudden there's going to be a whole bunch of teams that are going to want him, and the asking price then is going to really go up. And if his situation goes bad and he's looking at a lengthy time away from the NFL, then the Houston Texans are left holding the bag. So I think there's incentive for both sides to get something done. While at the same time, there's an argument for both of them to hold off and not do anything. So that's why I think it's around 50-50.
Okay, so the follow-up to that would be, is Stephen Ross an irresponsible owner for allowing his team to be involved in a trade that has a player that has 22 cases, 22 civil cases, 10 criminal investigations going on for sexual assault? Is this a terrible look for the Dolphins and an irresponsible move by Stephen Ross?
On the surface, it's a bad look, and it's very easy to dump on it. But I like to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to throw out two questions at you, and then you can take it from there. Number one, how often have you heard of an accused in a settlement discussion insist on there not being a DNA? Number two, isn't it an awfully long time for the grand jury to have had this case without indicting, which I am told by by people in the legal profession who know a lot more about these things than I do, that they're all in agreement that it's awfully unusual for it to take this long if it was so clear cut that he's guilty. So, and
or he could be guilty, but they don't have the physical evidence they need, so they can't really end up pressing charges. But it's one of those Ben Roethlisberger situations. You know what I mean? It's an O.J. Simpson situation. You kind of know what happened, but you can't prove it.
To quote a friend of mine, you can indict a ham sandwich. So the point being, again, I completely agree. The optics are terrible, and it's being pounded on by certain members of the media in South Florida. I get it.
Dave Hyde had a great article. I agree with Dave Hyde.
And that's the easy position to take. We also shouldn't forget the presumption of innocence. But
don't you wait for the innocence to then move forward? If you're the owner, you say, all right, guys, I get it. You like Watson. You want him. Great. Let's hold off. Let's wait till everything's clear, like Denver did, and said, when he's cleared, we'll get into it. But for now, I don't want to get involved, especially in a week where we just watched the Panthers have to fire their coach.
Yeah, but that's two different sports, two different.
I know, but they fired him for cover-up. You're negotiating with a guy that could actually have committed the act.
Correct, but that was black and white facts established. And like I said, I get it. The reason why you would want to make the move, obviously, it's a football move, and the reason is because if you don't make the move, there's no guarantee you're getting him in the spring.
Right.
And right now, you're a floundering organization that's looking for answers in any way, shape, or form, as we mentioned. And when you say, where do we go from here? I think somebody might argue, well, where you go from here is you take the dive and try to land your franchise quarterback for the next 10, 12 years.
All right, let's see what happens, my brother. It is interesting twists and turns, and we'll see what happens on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We will talk on Wednesday with our Sports Grill Miami Dolphins Insider Report. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you.
Be looking forward to it. That way on Wednesday we won't have to speculate. We will know exactly what went down.
There you go. Alain Poupart. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL.